A tall man in dusty boots and a worn leather jacket walks into the most luxurious hotel in downtown Los Angeles. His jeans are faded. His shirt is wrinkled from a long day on a film set. The staff behind the marble counter looks him up and down with barely hidden disgust. They refuse to give him a room. They call security, and then they do something unthinkable. They accuse him of trying to steal a wallet from one of their wealthy guests. What they don't know is that this man is John Wayne, and he doesn't just stay at this hotel. He owns every single brick of it. But instead of revealing his identity and firing everyone on the spot, Duke does something completely unexpected. He plays along. He lets them treat him like a common criminal. Because what he's about to uncover isn't just about rude employees or bad training. This is a conspiracy that reaches all the way to the top of his own company. A scheme that has been stealing from innocent guests for years. And the people behind it never thought they'd get caught. Keep watching to find out what happens when one of Hollywood's biggest legends decides to take down the corruption hiding inside his own hotel. What he discovers will shock you. And the way he delivers justice? Absolutely legendary. Before we dive into this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching this video from. Are you in Texas? California? Maybe somewhere overseas? I love hearing from you. And make sure you're subscribed because stories like this one don't come around every day. Now let's get into what really happened that night. Cliffhanger. Because the moment John Wayne walked through those doors, he had no idea he was about to witness something that would change everything he thought he knew about loyalty and trust. John Wayne wasn't just an actor. He was an American icon. For decades, he had been the face of courage, strength, and old-fashioned values on the silver screen. From the dusty trails of the Old West to the battlefields of World War II, Duke represented something pure, something honest. He was the cowboy who always did the right thing, the soldier who never left a man behind, the hero who stood up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. But what most people didn't know about John Wayne was that he was also a shrewd businessman. He had invested his hard-earned money wisely over the years. Real estate, production companies, and in 1968, he quietly purchased a struggling luxury hotel in the heart of Los Angeles. The Continental Plaza Hotel stood 12 stories tall on Wilshire Boulevard. Its Art Deco facade was a tribute to Hollywood's golden age. Elegant, timeless, classy. Wayne didn't buy it for attention. He bought it because he believed in giving people a place where they could feel like royalty. A place where a working-class family could save up for one special weekend and be treated with the same respect as a millionaire. That was Duke's vision. A hotel where everyone mattered. For nearly 6 years, he trusted his management team to run the day-to-day operations. He attended quarterly board meetings with his business partner, a sharp lawyer named Howard Mitchell. He reviewed profit and loss statements. He approved renovations, but he had never experienced his own hotel as a regular guest. He had always arrived in limousines, always been greeted by name at the entrance, always received the red carpet treatment that came with being both the owner and one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. John Wayne had built an empire on playing heroes, but he had never tested whether his own employees would treat a stranger with heroism. He had never walked through those doors as just another man. Cliffhanger, and on one warm September evening in 1974, that's exactly what he decided to do. What he was about to discover would shake him to his core. It started with a conversation Duke overheard at a charity gala. Two businessmen were laughing about how luxury hotels had become experts at separating the haves from the have-nots. One of them said something that stuck with Wayne like a thorn. They smile at you if you're wearing a Rolex, but if you look like you wandered in from a construction site, they treat you like garbage. John Wayne went home that night and couldn't stop thinking about it. Was his hotel doing the same thing? Were his employees judging people based on their clothes and their cars? He needed to know. Not as the owner, not as a celebrity, but as an ordinary man. The next afternoon, Duke pulled together the perfect disguise. He threw on a pair of old Levi's jeans that he wore when working on his ranch in Arizona. The knees were stained with dirt. The cuffs were frayed. He grabbed a faded denim shirt, the kind a truck driver might wear on a cross-country haul. He slipped his feet into scuffed brown work boots, and he topped it all off with a sweat-stained cowboy hat pulled low over his face. Without his usual polished appearance, John Wayne looked like a ranch hand who had just finished a 16-hour shift. His signature swagger was still there, but the expensive suits and the movie star shine? Gone. He climbed into his old Ford pickup truck, the one he used to haul hay on his property. He parked it 3 blocks away from the Continental Plaza Hotel and walked the rest of the way. The hotel rose before him like a palace. Its white stone exterior glowed under the streetlights. Through the tall glass windows, he could see the chandelier-lit lobby. Marble columns, velvet chairs, fresh orchids on every table. This was his dream, his investment, his legacy. John Wayne took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors. The cool, air-conditioned lobby hit him immediately. A couple in designer clothes glided past without a glance. A bellhop rushed by, carrying luggage for a guest who looked like European royalty, and behind the front desk stood a young man in a crisp navy uniform. His name tag read Derek. Duke approached the counter with a friendly nod. Cliffhanger what happened next would make his blood run cold, because Derek was about to say something that no employee should ever say to any guest, let alone the man who signed his paychecks. "Good evening," John Wayne said in his trademark drawl. "I'd like a room for the night, if you've got one available." Derek's eyes slowly traveled from Duke's dirty boots up to his faded jeans, across his wrinkled shirt, and finally settled on his weathered face beneath the cowboy hat. Something cold flickered across Derek's expression. Something dismissive. Something cruel. "I'm sorry, sir," Derek said with a tone that wasn't sorry at all. "But I don't think this hotel is the right fit for you." Wayne blinked. He wasn't sure he'd heard correctly. "Excuse me." Derek sighed, like he was explaining something to a child. "The Continental Plaza is a 5-star establishment. We cater to a very specific type of clientele. I think you'd be more comfortable at one of the motels off the highway. There's a decent place about 10 miles east." The words landed like a punch. John Wayne had faced down outlaws on screen. He'd fought in some of the most intense battle scenes ever filmed. But this was a different kind of confrontation. This was personal. "I see," Duke said slowly, keeping his voice calm. "And what makes you think I can't afford to stay here?" Derek leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "Sir, I've worked in hospitality for 4 years. I know who belongs here and who doesn't. And respectfully, you don't belong here. Now, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before you disturb our actual guests." Wayne felt his jaw tighten. He could end this right now. Pull out his ID, watch this smug kid's face turn white. But something stopped him. If Derek was treating him this way, how many other people had been humiliated at this front desk? "All right," Wayne said. "What about your restaurant? Can I at least grab a bite to eat?" Derek's smile was thin and icy. "The restaurant requires reservations. I'm quite sure we're fully booked tonight." John Wayne turned and walked toward the hotel restaurant anyway. A young woman stood at the hostess stand. Her name tag read Vanessa. She looked up as he approached, and her expression immediately shifted from polite to guarded. "Good evening, ma'am," Duke said. "Is there any chance I could get a table?" Vanessa's eyes scanned him from head to toe. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, but I see several open tables." "Those are reserved for guests arriving later," she said quickly. "I'm afraid we can't seat walk-ins tonight." Before Wayne could respond, Derek appeared behind him. This time, he wasn't alone. 2 security guards in dark blazers flanked him. Their faces were hard, their hands rested near their belts. Derek called out loudly, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "I already asked you to leave. Now you're harassing our restaurant staff." A well-dressed couple standing near the elevators quickly stepped back. A businessman at the bar turned to stare. The lobby, which had been buzzing with quiet conversation, suddenly went silent. "Harassing?" Wayne said calmly. "I just asked for a table." One of the security guards stepped forward. "Sir, we've also had a report that you were seen near the coat check area acting suspiciously. A guest is missing a wallet." Cliffhanger, and just like that, John Wayne wasn't just being kicked out. He was being accused of theft in his own hotel. But what Duke didn't know yet was that this accusation wasn't random. It was part of something much bigger. and much darker. The accusation hung in the air like a storm cloud. John Wayne stood perfectly still, his mind racing. Missing wallet. He hadn't been anywhere near the coat check, but the security guards didn't care about the truth. They cared about getting rid of the man in dirty boots who didn't look like he belonged. "I haven't touched anyone's wallet," Duke said firmly. "And I'd appreciate it if you'd check your facts before you start throwing around accusations like that." Derek crossed his arms. "Sir, we take theft very seriously here. Now, you can leave peacefully, or we can call the police and let them sort this out." Wayne looked at the guests watching him. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked relieved that security was handling the situation. Not one of them questioned whether the accusation was even true. They just assumed the worst because of how he was dressed. "Fine," Duke said quietly. "I'll leave." But as he turned toward the door, a voice cut through the tension. "Wait." A middle-aged woman in a housekeeper's uniform stepped forward. Her name tag read Rosa. Her hands were trembling, but her voice was steady. "That man didn't take anything. I've been working in the coat check area all evening. He never came near it." Derek's face flushed red. "Rosa, this doesn't concern you. Get back to work." "No," Rosa said, her voice growing stronger. "I'm not going to stand here and watch you lie about an innocent person. You do this all the time, Derek. You and Vanessa and those security guards. You pick people who don't look wealthy and you humiliate them. You accuse them of things they didn't do, and then you laugh about it in the break room." The lobby went deathly quiet. One of the security guards stepped toward Rosa. "You need to stop talking. Right now." But Rosa didn't stop. She looked directly at John Wayne. "Sir, I'm sorry this happened to you. This hotel used to be a place where everyone was treated with respect. But ever since the new assistant manager took over, things have changed. They have a system. They turn away guests who don't look rich enough. They pocket the room fees that were supposed to be refunded. They even skim cash from the restaurant tips. And anyone who speaks up gets fired." John Wayne's eyes narrowed. "Who's the assistant manager?" Rosa hesitated. Then she said a name that made Duke's stomach drop. "Richard Calloway. Cliffhanger Richard Calloway. The man Wayne had personally promoted 2 years ago. The man he had trusted with the daily operations of his hotel. And now, the man who had apparently turned the Continental Plaza into his own personal criminal empire." John Wayne didn't say another word. He turned and walked out of the hotel, climbed into his truck, and drove straight to Howard Mitchell's house. By midnight, they had a plan. By sunrise, they had a team of auditors and investigators combing through every financial record the Continental Plaza had produced in the last 2 years. What they found was staggering. Richard Calloway had been running a scam that had stolen over $200,000 from the hotel and its guests. Fake refunds, skimmed tips, overcharged room fees that went straight into his pocket. And he had built a network of employees, Derek, Vanessa, and several others who helped him do it in exchange for cash bonuses. 3 days later, John Wayne walked back into the Continental Plaza Hotel. This time, he wore a tailored suit. His boots were polished, and he was flanked by Howard Mitchell, 2 police detectives, and a team of lawyers. The look on Derek's face when he realized who the man in dirty jeans had been, priceless Richard Calloway, was arrested on the spot. Derek and Vanessa were fired immediately and escorted out by the same security guards who had tried to throw Duke out. The security guards themselves were let go for participating in the scheme. And every employee who had stayed silent while innocent guests were mistreated. They received one final warning, but Rosa was promoted to head of guest services. Her courage had exposed the truth, and John Wayne made sure she was rewarded for it. Cliffhanger, but the story doesn't end with arrests and firings. Because what happened next would define the Continental Plaza Hotel for decades to come. And it would prove that John Wayne wasn't just a hero on screen. He was a hero in real life too. John Wayne didn't just clean house. He rebuilt the culture of the Continental Plaza from the ground up. He implemented a new policy. Every guest, regardless of appearance, would be treated with dignity and respect. No exceptions. He created an anonymous hotline where employees could report mistreatment without fear of retaliation. and he started showing up unannounced, sometimes in a suit, sometimes in jeans, just to make sure his standards were being upheld within 6 months. The Continental Plaza became known as the friendliest luxury hotel in Los Angeles. Families saved up for special weekends there. Working-class travelers felt welcomed. And the wealthy guests? They kept coming back because they respected what the hotel stood for. John Wayne never forgot what Rosa had done. And he never forgot how icily people judged others based on appearances. Years later, in an interview, he said something that stuck with everyone who heard it. You can tell a lot about a person by how they treat someone who can do nothing for them. The Continental Plaza Hotel still stands today. And inside the lobby, there's a small plaque that reads, "Everyone deserves respect. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone belongs here." Before you go, do me one last favor. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching this from. And if this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button. Because legends like John Wayne remind us that real heroism isn't just about what you do on camera. It's about what you do when no one's watching. And sometimes, the biggest battles aren't fought with fists. They're fought with integrity,